Yo, I'm DJP Coaching, otherwise known as Ventus, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how I made the wobbly sort of bass from my track Swerve. Right, so let's just jump straight in. I have muted all of this, so you hear what it sounds like without any of the processing on top. And I'm just going to jump straight into the massive. So the preset will be included in the description below, so you can go download that now, and you can get off this video if you really want. But I'll explain certain things that will help wrap your head around the process, the concept, and help you understand why I've gone about it like this. Also, I'm still doing one-to-one bookings for lessons if you want to learn how to DJ in person, or if you want to learn how to do some music production, learn the ropes. Then I'm up for that over Zoom. Bookings are always available, so give us a message and just let us know when you're free. Yeah, so I'll just jump straight in. So this is the sound itself. And it's mostly just a oscillator 2, and it's a square wave with the intensity about 9 o'clock and about 1 o'clock on the amplitude. After that white noise is on there. It's literally just a chorus. Dry wet is set to about 11 o'clock. Rate, offset and depth are all 12 o'clock. And I've put some attack on the 4th envelope in a little bit of release. That's actually it. So that sounds like this. Ooh. Skip it on a little bit. Yeah, so it's very normal, just a note being held. There's nothing special there. Put a little bit of mono on there. It's shorten the width a little bit, load the width. It's not really necessary, you don't really need to do it, but I did it just to help myself control the wideness a little bit. I would have done it for a reason. It'll be a subtle change, but and then after that, compressor, very harshly crushing it down, really, minus 20, almost 22 dB on the threshold, and the attacks on is at about 0.01 milliseconds, so it's pretty much zero. And the release is on about 63. Ratio's on about 4.5 over 1, so that's quite a high ratio. Especially with that sort of amount of threshold as well. Yeah, and then after that we've got another compressor, 1.48 on the ratio. So basically the complete opposite of that, with a little bit less threshold attenuation there. Just so that the first compressor sort of keeps all the transients, keeps all keeps the sound as much the same as possible, while also bringing it all up and gluing it together a little bit. And then the second compressor after that sort of smooths it out and makes sure that there's no super heavy dynamic pops or anything like that. It's all been smoothed out by the second compressor. After that, go straight into EQ8. I've took out all the low end. You see a bit of automation there. There's quite a lot of automation on this, actually, to be honest. So yeah, I mean that's something you're gonna have to do in your own time. But the idea basically is I've scooped all the low end out. Oh, sorry, I've cut all the low end out, cut the high end out, and I've just sort of got a nice little bit of boost around about 344 hertz, about 3 dB. So it's a little bit middly, but that's kind of what I was going for, because everything else needs to lay over the top of it. So yeah, and then after that, sidechain compression to the kick and snare track, which is about 0.2 millisecond attack, 68 millisecond release, about 3 over 1 on the ratio, and really coming down about 35 dB there on the threshold, just to make sure that it's reacting to the kick and the snare, because the kick and the snare in this tune are quite I can't think of the word, docile, I guess. They're quite stripped back and a little bit not the character I was going for is that it's a little bit like it's being played out of like an old stupid like broken cassette or something like that, so the drums are really disjointed and a little bit like weird, you know, like in tonality. But that's unrelated to this, to be honest. But it sort of ties into the side chain. In fact, just remembered, there you go, so you can see it now because my camera's in the bottom right. After that, EQ8, just cutting out a couple of harmonics here from certain sections. I'm not sure whereabouts at the moment. It depends where this EQ is opening and closing. So I'm assuming around here is where these are going to start coming into play, or maybe somewhere else, but yeah. And then after that, we have this 𝙀𝙀𝙧𝙨𝙚𝙀 tremolo, which is probably the most important part of this sound for me. Obviously this is what it sounds like with the processing so far. So it's very like rings your head, makes me feel like I'm in a flipping microwave, mate, and it's about to just blow me up. Yeah, so I put a 𝙀𝙀𝙧𝙨 tremolo on there. Fiddled a little bit with the phase just to make sure that the timing of the actual note itself is, you know, the wob is in time. And I've put it on dotted 16th, set it to host, transient mode. I think that's transient. Correct me if I'm wrong, apologies if I am wrong. I know that's obviously pan. Yeah, and then shape and symmetry is the same, depth is 100% up, and then yeah, there's a little bit of automation here on the note, you know, just to make sure that the notes change speed in certain sections, and later on it doesn't really need that, but earlier on I think it does. It needs a bit of more of a groove to it, you know. And then that's what this sounds like all together. Yeah, I mean, you get the idea. That's pretty much it. That's the sound. And then after that, I've got it routing into some automation, some buses, sorry. So early in the intro, I've got, you know, a bit more reverb on there, which is that. If you want to copy that yourself, feel free. Nothing special. Yep. And then after that, it's also being routed to the echo, which is surprisingly quite MIDI as well. I'm quite surprised they've done that, but that adds to the tonality as well of the sound, and really gives it a nice sort of, almost like, I can't think of the word, like a old school sort of, it's almost like it's been played out of like a small like bin, or out of like a glass or something, I don't know, but you know what I'm trying to say. Like, it sounds like it's been put into something organic, I think. After that, Hass effect. Not usually use this anymore, just because it kind of disperses your high end a little bit too much sometimes, and it can make it sound a little bit choppy and fluffy and messy. But in the right setting, it's really good and really useful. You know, I'll just quickly explain it. I've already done a video about this, but I'll just quickly run over it. Basically, there's left side, right side, and on one side you delay it so quickly that it is pretty much instant, so it's the same as everything else that's been played. But then the other side, you delay it slightly so that it basically tricks your brain into thinking the stereo field is wider than it actually is. And especially on high end, like drums, hi-hats, things like that, it really does make it sound a little bit, it does make it sound more in your face, and it's a great technique to use for specific things like that. And especially even if you're adding it onto cymbals and then afterwards you go back and you clean that up yourself. That's even better. That's probably preferred actually, if you could do that. Yeah, so like it's pretty much on 24 milliseconds. You can play around with that. You can have it on 15. It's anywhere from like 10 to 25, I'd say. After that, it starts to sound too delayed, so that the sound happens and you can hear the sound obviously delaying afterwards. It needs to be so short that it's subconscious. It's slightly delayed. It's like you don't notice it's happening. That's it. That's everything. I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, share, subscribe. Make sure you share it to your friends. I'd really appreciate it if you could do that. And make a comment below. Tell me if you suggestions for any future videos. I'm always all ears. Again, bookings are still available, so make sure you get in touch. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one. Adios.